Hello and welcome to the Mid-Kent College Careers Team podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing seeking employment with myself, Rachel Smith, Careers Advisor at Mid-Kent College, Joanne Daly, Careers Advisor at Mid-Kent College, and Emily Rimmer, also Careers Advisor at Mid-Kent College with a specialism for supporting students with educational healthcare plans and additional support needs. So, employment. So, again, as well as apprenticeships, the students are really interested in finding employment, be it a part-time job or they're looking for employment opportunities as their next step once they leave college. But it's hard, isn't it? It's hard out there at the moment.
It really is.
I mean, what I'm finding is that there'll be vacancies, but they'll have so many applications. Are you guys finding the same thing when you're kind of working with your students?
Yeah, definitely. I think what I've found a lot of recently, just because of the economic climate as well, is that there's not as many part-time jobs. And even things like a student's first job used to be working in a shop or maybe in hospitality. And obviously there's a bit of a knock-on effect after COVID. A lot of the shops have closed. So students are having to be really proactive, things like get a good CV together, but really I would strongly advocate voluntary work, things like that they can get some experience, because that will help them stand out, because they are applying at the same time as maybe hundreds and hundreds of students the same age. They're really going to have to think, where can I get these vacancies? Talk to as many people as possible, go in to speak to employers. It is a lot tougher than it used to be, but obviously we're here to help.
And what sort of things can we do? From my perspective, I do think that sometimes we're sold a little bit, that we can get young people employment, and maybe parents think that perhaps that's something that we can do, that we can kind of get them the jobs, but it doesn't quite work like that, does it? It's sort of more that supportive element of exploring finding employment.
Yeah, so I guess our role really is to support young people think about where the opportunities might be, looking at where there might be more opportunities than others. As we say, certainly in retail, there's been quite a big decline, particularly in the high streets, and certainly in hospitality as well, there's been quite a decline in opportunities there. So it's really think about, okay, where might they find something? And then, we can help students with writing their CV, making sure that it really, stands out. We can help them with interview skills as well. So thinking about, okay, if you get to that point where you're offered an interview, what kind of questions might come up? How can you prepare for those answers to give you the best opportunity of sharing your skills with that employer to help them see that you're going to be the right person for that role. So the more preparation you do, the better your chances really of securing that role when it does come up. But yeah, unfortunately, we're not able to place students into jobs, but certainly we can put all that support around them to give them the best chance of securing something.
I think sometimes students often go for the same type of job. They'll look at the big employers like Aldi and Lidl and McDonald's, and they forget about the small employer, the little local shop. So my son's very first job was peeling potatoes in the local fish and chip shop, and people forget, just go and speak to those little places, local farm shops, just anywhere that's a bit off the beaten track, because you may not have as much competition as you will. Like Aldi gets hundreds and hundreds of competition, lots of people applying. So that's where we can help as well. Just help them to think about different places they can look.
I think that's it, isn't it? Getting that CV and just getting out there. And perhaps it's parents supporting their young person in having the confidence maybe to go and do that. I know it can be quite intimidating, can't it, to kind of walk into somewhere with your CV and be like, oh, excuse me, have you got any vacancies? And I think sometimes it feels a little bit easier to perhaps sit behind something like Indeed, but Indeed is going to be the one that's kind of going to be churning out those multiple, hundreds and hundreds of applications, whereas, going out and handing your CV can be a really effective way of doing it. And
it shows to the employer that you've got that confidence to do that. And I think actually that's a really good start for that employer to go, actually, do you know what? They're really making an effort. They're really putting themselves out there. You can see that somebody wants it if they're going above and beyond in what they're doing. Just, emailing another CV. Everybody's doing that.
It's true.
So,
and maybe parents, being a part of that, and obviously you don't want to go in holding hands with your mum, but
definitely not.
That would give a different kind of impression, I think. But perhaps even sort of being happy to go up and down the high street with them, and you're waiting outside, just to give them that confidence, because it can be very intimidating for young people, I think, to do that. But just knowing that they've perhaps or someone's sitting in the car waiting or something like that.
And the flip side of that as well is don't take it personally if somebody is not overly excited to see you or is a bit, dismissive of you going in. Don't take that personally. It may just be they're very busy. Shops don't have as many staff now because of financial situations. So it may be that person's quite stretched, and actually at that moment in time it's not their priority. So don't give up, don't be disheartened, just keep going with it, because you might get turned down from 15, but you never know, that next one could be the one where actually that opportunity is there.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of other things like networking as well, parents can support with that also, can't they? Start talking to family, friends of family, family of friends, the same for the student themselves. Sometimes employers will have sort of little incentives, haven't they? If you're already working at KFC and you recommend they get offered a position off of the back of that the person that already works there gets a little bit of a bonus and a sweetener for kind of doing that. So I suppose as well, parents perhaps looking at who they've got in their network, and the students themselves looking at who they've got in that network of, okay, have I got any friends that already kind of work somewhere? Or, if the parent has a friend whose daughter is already working somebody, can you recommend, can you put in a good word? And sometimes I think networking is perhaps in some instances more effective than because it's sort of already that foot in the door, isn't it? And somebody that can advocate for you and that kind of that warm connection.
And I think having a recommendation as well for an employer is really reassuring. It takes away that element of, what are they going to be like? Because there is a lot of uncertainty for an employer taking somebody on. They're really keen to make sure they get someone who is going to be reliable, turning up on time. By doing that through a recommendation, it's hopefully a bit more of a guarantee to that employer that it's going to be somebody who genuinely wants that and is going to be reliable for them.
Now, we've spoken about CVs, and absolutely that's something that we can support with, and we do a lot of CV work with students, and they do it through their PPTs as well. I think young people really do struggle to celebrate their skills and advertise their skills on their CV, and perhaps feel that they don't have any skills. What are your thoughts on that?
I think sometimes students as you've said, they don't realise how fabulous they are. So sometimes it's easier to break them down when I'm with a young person. Think about your hard skills, the things you've learnt to do. So on your course, for instance, say it was motor vehicle, they may never have changed a wheel before they started that course. Now they're great at it. But alongside that, they will have been talking to people, new people in their course. They would have been talking to their the curriculum staff at the college. They would have been getting themselves to college on time, so they're being organised, they're managing their time. These are their softer skills, the things they're doing every day that they don't even recognise, like getting up on time, talking to people, those communication skills.
Problem solving,
absolutely. So it's helping that young person realise that actually on a daily basis they've got loads of them, and they've also developed technical ones from their course, and sometimes they're just not aware and they don't know how to bring those skills out. So having that conversation with them. So what have you learnt today at college? What have you learnt since you started the course? And do you remember that time you did a Duke of Edinburgh award? And what were you doing?
Let's talk. Let's make Mabel's birthday.
Yeah.
You organised it.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing how sometimes when you're talking to students as well, they can't think of anything, and then you start really delving in, you start asking questions, and all of a sudden they come up with these incredible things. Like, oh my goodness! I think I was talking to someone who was head of the police cadets that they did. They'd been chosen as sort of like this for a special role, and you just think, oh my goodness, but they only mentioned that I think almost at the end to put it on their CV, and I was like, gosh, that's an incredible thing that you've done. So I think really maybe helping your young person to really think about, okay, what are they good at, what have they been doing, and then drawing out from that those skills that they can sort of use to sort of show an employer what they could bring to that role is really important.
Absolutely. So we're out of time for now, but if you did want any support in helping your young person to seek employment, we can support with looking at different opportunities, where you find them, different approaches, and also making sure you've got that really top-notch CV and perhaps cover letter as well for sending out to employers. So please do feel free to book an appointment with the careers team.
The Mid-Kent College Careers Podcast is a Mid-Kent creative media production. The sound recording and editing by Mason Cox and Jack Webb. Music by Logan Calvert.